go to the.
Sorry, I forgot to say we got to record for those that are missing it. Sorry, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. Then the Spirit said, go to the very beginning. I'm like, okay, I'll go to the very beginning. And what do I find? Episode 3, affirmation. So I've been listening to the affirmations over and over again. I've listened to several of them. I'm like binge listening at this point. But I'm just like, man, our coach is so dope.
So sweet. I love affirmations. I absolutely adore them, because if you think about our brain, like we have neural pathways in our brain, and neural pathways are those pathways that are followed frequently. And that's how we essentially create a habit, right? A new way of thinking, a new way of behaving. If we want to change that way to align with our success, we have to use repetition. And that's where affirmations and a lot of that like subconscious reprogramming comes in. So I think for abused women who have probably normalized abuse or disqualified their worthiness, affirmations are powerful.
Yes. And so that's what I'm so thankful for. And I just wanted to share, how alignment and clarity works, and how this program is all in alignment with everything that I want to do. And I just hope that this comes up for someone else, and that this helps someone else that, might be feeling like, maybe you don't know where to start. Start with our coach. Start with listening to her podcast and listening to and watching her videos, because the videos also help me. But there's, the one thing I was thinking of, how do I begin to build my affirmations out for my clients? Okay, so then I seek the Spirit about it. The Spirit led me to affirmations. Make a long story short, I am now understanding step by step what it is I need to do to build out the affirmations that are for my clients. But you have provided this in your 3rd episode, which you put up 2 years ago. And so I'm super thankful for that. I just want to share that. That was it.
I want to add something too, Alexis. Another thing you can do when you think about affirmations, or when I don't know if you guys saw the training. I did like a bonus training in the group the other day, and I was talking about how to build out a product suite. And I took away the pressure of you needing to have some 8-tiered product suite. I'm like, you could literally say, okay, I know I want to do one-on-ones, and then I just need something like a free opt-in, like a free way to bring people into my funnel. And this is a perfect example, because you could take those affirmations, Alexis, and you can make a brief hypnosis. That could be a low ticket offer. You could take those affirmations and make a meditation. That could be a free offer that brings people into your funnel. And then that next step is to jump into that group coaching program that we laid out. And then that next tier would be, okay, do they want to dive in and do one-on-one with you more in depth? So there's so many ways that you could take that affirmation at the bottom and then add on it, because the affirmation is just the starting. That's just the entryway, right? That's just the foundation. From there, now after the affirmation, what are we doing to actually take action on those affirmations to really align your life to be able to match that, right? And then you move up the tiers essentially. So affirmations is a powerful start. And you know what else too? When you were doing that focus group, and I messaged you, and I'm like, make sure you record it or take really diligent notes. Pay attention to go back and look at those notes that they were saying. Yes, I know, I'm so proud of her. Pay attention to the things that they were saying that they're struggling with, and think about how to give that back as an affirmation. And the key thing you got to know is your subconscious mind does not register negatives. So don't say something like, I'm not unhappy. You don't want to say that, right? Because the subconscious mind didn't hear the word not, and all it registered was the word unhappy. So you want to say, I feel happy, I feel proud, I'm whatever the affirmation is, but saying it in a positive sense. So yeah.
Yes, exactly. All of that. I took very diligent notes, and I did record it. And my intent this entire week is to go over it and over it and over it, and basically submerge myself in all information that's needed to start building out my content. So I'm just super excited about it, because now I just feel like I have this super big load that I have to now unload. I have to now break it all down and get ready to unload. I'm just so ready. I'm so ready to help people. I'm super, super energized. So
I could tell.
All righty.
I was like stalking your page after the thing, because I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to see how it went. And then I watched your video where you were talking about it, and I was like, man, you were glowing. Like you could tell this is where you want to be, and you could just tell it was so much alignment, because you were glowing. So it was beautiful to witness.
Thank you.
You're welcome, and I'm proud of you.
Thank you. My husband said the same thing.
Did he? Yeah, I'm proud of you for putting yourself out there.
Yeah, I will.
there's that vulnerability piece of like having to share your story, but then there's the vulnerability piece of like putting your offer, putting your what you're doing out there. And so the fact that you did that, that's a big freaking deal. So I admire that.
That you
Thank you
guys
so much.
mentioned,
Thank you.
that's what I struggle with, is the vulnerability piece, telling my story and getting myself out there. And
What do you feel like comes up for you when you think about that?
I feel like it's more of fear, like fear of people not listening, or, not, maybe like not, my story is not as important, you know what I'm saying? So I feel like that's where I struggle with the most.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. There's a couple of things that come up for me as you say that. One, your story is the story that only you can tell, right? So I'll use Alexis, for example. Alexis is talking about like healing. There's a million coaches talking about healing, but there's a reason that people are going to be drawn to Alexis's specific story, right? There's a million coaching certification programs, but there's a reason you guys were drawn to this one specifically. And so shifting it and understanding that like someone somewhere is waiting on you, Shamika, to do what you need to do, right? Their breakthrough is tied up in that story you're unwilling to tell. And so you have to be willing to tell it. The next thing is when you think about the fear, we all have like a like homeostasis or a temperature that we get at, right? So when you think about the fear, I want you to explore that for a minute. And I want you to ask yourself, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen if no one responds to your vulnerability, right? If no one responds to your vulnerability, then you're in the exact same situation that you're in right here, right now. Right? So you're already in your worst case scenario. So the only place you have to go is up. That's the only option you have, is to go up, right? And so putting yourself out there, is it going to hit the first moment you do it? No, it probably, in the way social media works all together anyway, the algorithm is weird, but you just continue to show up, you continue to press, and it's the consistency that matters. I remember when I first started my business, there was a coach that I admired. I liked her because she was a single mom. And at the time I had just gone through my divorce and I was a single mom. And I'm like, oh, she's a coach. And she was real. I mean, she'd get on lives and she'd have her daughter in the background playing and loud, and she didn't filter it out. Like, I was like, oh, I like her. And I followed her for a while. And I remember thinking, I want to work with her. And when I decided that I wanted to go work with her, she fell off the scene. I didn't hear anything from her. She stopped posting. She wasn't doing lives or anything. And then all of a sudden she came back on like 3 months later. And she was like, I don't even remember what she was doing. She wasn't even talking about coaching anymore. She was just talking about like her random stuff. And what it spoke to me in that moment was, it was consistency. Consistency was what I was looking for from her before I was ready to take that next step. And so when you think about your people that are paying attention, because there's people that are paying attention that aren't saying anything. Alexis is a perfect example. Alexis felt like she came out of woodwork for me. I didn't know where Alexis came from. And then all of a sudden she's like, I'm ready to work with you. And she told me, she's like, I've been watching you for 2 years. I never, ever, ever knew that, right? So there's people watching you and you don't even realize that they're watching you. And so when you think about it, when people come to work with you, or they come to be in your energy, they want to see what else you've been doing and how consistent you've been with that. And so they're going to go back. They may go back and scroll your social media. They may go back and see what videos you posted. They may go back to see how long you've been talking about it. So everything that you're doing to put yourself out there is never a waste, because it's going to serve somebody along that journey. And then when it comes time for that person to be like, yep, she's the person, she's the one I want to work with, now you have all this content that people can go back to. Alexis just said, right? My affirmations, when I promoted my podcast, when it first came out 2 years ago, I think I had 3 listens. And Alexis just said that episode from 2 years ago was something that she was drawn to, and it spoke to her and gave her an idea. Like, so you just never know how something can be shifted or used, and when it could be used. And so when you think of that fear, I don't want you to run from the fear. I want you to ask yourself, okay, what is the worst thing that can happen with this fear that I'm feeling? I want you to explore it, because here's the truth. Like, your subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between reality and fake. So when you give yourself accession to explore it, it doesn't feel as scary anymore, because now you've already confronted it, right? I think about the first time I did public speaking. I'm like, okay, everyone laughs at me. And I sat with that feeling. Everyone throws a tomato at me. I sat with that feeling. And then when I got out there, I was scared, but it was like, okay, what's the worst that can happen? I've already essentially lived this out anyways. So I want you to think about, explore that fear, sit with that fear. And then remember, you're already right there now. You're already at your quote unquote worst case scenario. You have no choice but to go up from here. Thank you for that too. Like, I know that there's a lot of fear around showing up. And so I just thank you for that vulnerability and to being honest about that. And also, if you ever want to see something funny, go back and look at my really early like YouTube videos from like 2017, 2018. They're a nightmare. And I keep them up there, embarrassed and all, because I'm like, well, one, they might speak to somebody, but two, they motivate me when I'm like, man, I've come a long way. I can jump on camera and not be scared.
Can I
I want to
say
add to
something,
that
Dr. Nicole?
too.
Alexa, go
sorry.
ahead and add to it. And then I think Taisha, you said you want to add something. Alexa, go ahead, and then Taisha, you can add to it.
Yeah, I actually wanted to bring that up too, because I was thinking like, man, maybe I should, get my imagery together and make sure I'm, I know what I'm saying and how I'm saying it. It's all put together. But watching your YouTube videos then compared to now, it's like, okay, I'm putting myself out here. So, and now that I'm listening to your podcast, I feel the same way, because your podcast back then compared to now sounds so different. It's like, okay, you know what? I'm just going to do it. So I just encourage anybody that's like what Shamika's saying is just, if you're fearful at all, just understand that our coach had the same fears and pushed right through them, and there's evidence of that. So just let that,
and I still have
you, let that push you.
Okay, I still have fears. There's still things that I get fearful about, that I have to work myself up to. It's all you don't ever reach it. Like you create a new comfort zone with each level you take. And then there's still fears around that.
Yeah. That's something I definitely struggle with my podcast is putting content out there, because I'm like, well, I don't know, it has to sound a certain way and it has to be this way and it has to be edited like that. So yeah, I'm definitely going to take that into consideration.
I love that. Do you already have your podcast, Shamika? If you do, I'd love if you share it in the group so we can check it out.
I do. Yeah.
Oh yeah, share it in the group. We want to check it out.
I'll send the.
One thing you'll learn, Shamika, is this group is really supportive. Like even whenever someone posts something or shares something, like Alexis did that, she did the group call and someone from the group joined and supported her on that. So like, we want to support you. So definitely share that podcast, please. I'm switching Wi-Fi's. It's looking like it's going out. Give me a second. Okay, I'm back. Can you guys hear me okay? Can you guys hear me okay?
Thanks for sharing, Shamika. I'm definitely going to check you out. I'm new to the podcast too. I just started mine actually this week. So this is exciting.
I did it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Taisha reached out and thought actually. Sorry, I got cut out. I was going to say, even Taisha, you can speak.
Did I cut out?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's Dr. Nicole.
There you go. I'm sorry.
We're cutting out.
Let me see if she gets back on. Okay. Perfect.
Okay.
You're good?
Yep, I'm good.
Okay, perfect. So I was sharing with Shamika that I want to start my podcast. So that's part of one of my goals. I was saying like spring, summer. So I said spring, but I'm giving myself at least until summer, like my birthday, June-ish, So I'm looking at things. So what I did, I already downloaded the application Anchor. So that's the first start. They have different segments to help you start a podcast and stuff like that. So that's what I'm working on. But like you mentioning about your podcast, I'm definitely going to check it out because it's good. Like right now I need the ideas. I need like a startup foundation. So by listening to your podcast or even Dr. Nicole's podcast, and then I think Taisha said she has one. So I want to listen to hers too and just gather up, for me, my podcast is just authenticity for me. And I just want to be authentic, right? Just be me. So by listening to other people's podcasts, it's going to encourage me to say, you know what, I can do it. And what I want to share too is a quote that I stand by and that really gets me going is without commitment, you won't get started. And without consistency, you won't finish. Yeah. So that is a quote that I live by and pushes me to do more, and really go above and beyond to really be productive. So I'm excited that, everybody's on a podcast train because I'm trying to get on it. So definitely you guys would be my encouragement to kind of like really, I have that fear too. Like same thing with you, Shamika, you like, you want to be a certain way, you want to sound this, you want to have content. And it's so funny because as I was thinking about my podcast, like literally no word of a lie, like the Holy Spirit was just downloading ideas. So I have like a whole page of different ideas for my podcast. I'm like, wow. So I have content, but it's just to put it together. You know what I mean? So I'm going to start with one and just throw it out there. And that's what one of the coaches on Anchor was explaining about Anchor, is like, you just throw it out there, just go out there and just do it. Like, you know what I mean? There's no perfect way to do it. You know what I mean? So that was my encouragement. So that's my encouragement for you as well too. And I'm definitely going to check out your podcast for sure.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome.
I was going to say, you've been doing so good with your productivity this week with even those power hours, like just being so consistent. And that's that consistency paying off. And then I was going to also add in for both, for well, all three of you, Taisha, Shamika, Andrea, like the podcasting is a great way because there's no pressure of you having to perform, because you could write a script and no one would even know that you're necessarily reading a script. And then as you start to create your own flow, because in the early stages of my podcast, I did have like a script. So I would say, I'm going to talk about affirmations and 3 steps to create affirmations. And I had those 3 steps. Now I can get on there and I can just flow. I can just talk because I understand the flow of that podcast, but I'm 200 episodes in to be able to even get to that point. So I think a podcast is a great way because once you start getting really comfortable through your podcast, then when you show up online and you do lives, you can almost structure your lives in that same way and you start to show up really, really comfortable. Also, what I would say is what Alexa said earlier, like just go, just start. I am such a big advocate for launching ugly. If you wait until all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, until all the things are perfect, you'll never start. And Taisha reached out to me the morning her podcast launched, and she's like, oh my God, I messed up. Like, I don't think I should have launched it. I should have. And she started talking herself out of it. And I'm like, why shouldn't you have? Look how many shares you got. Look how many people said that they wanted to join. But now you've already started, you've already gotten that ball rolling, right? You've already started building that momentum. So now all you got to do is just keep it going. Getting started is the hardest part. And so like just keeping that consistency is so important. So yeah, I think podcasting is a great way to get started. And there's a lot of podcasting groups on Facebook too, that you guys could consider joining, where they'll have like podcast share Tuesday and guest feature Friday. And you can post your podcast and ask for guest features, or post your podcast and ask people to share or whatever. And like, there's so many ways that you can grow a podcast. Because like Alexis said, I am not a radio person. I listen to either a podcast or a training almost all the time. Like that is how I spend my time in the car. And a lot of people are starting to lean towards that, especially after the pandemic, when people are wanting to learn new skills and losing their jobs. That's when people really started to tune into like online learning. So this is your time. This is a great time.
Yes, if I could jump in here real quick, Coach. So this is just so good, you guys. Like this is really lifting my spirit. On Monday, like I was freaking out and everything, like Coach said. And on Monday, you guys, I was so sick. I was so sick on Monday. My voice was gone. And I just prayed and I was like, God, I already put myself out there. I'm being obedient after contemplating about it for days, and he had already gave me like my title and everything. And so it took my teenage daughter, she was on spring break at my parents' house, and she texted me at midnight saying, Mom, you should launch a podcast. And I said, oh my God. I was like, this has been on my mind all day. And she was like, Mom, you should do it. You should just do it. And she was giving me ideas. She was like, people just want to hear about real stuff. You keep it real. Just talk about life. And that's when, you guys, I was in my bed when I created my trailer. I was in my bed.
And it's amazing. And it's amazing.
It's amazing. It's just that easy. Like, I stopped thinking about it. I was like, whoever is going to listen, even if it's one listener, I helped out one listener. Like I shared a piece of me. I shared a part of me. So I was in my bed at midnight. I recorded it on my phone and I was like, oh, that turned out good. And then when I recorded my first episode, for one, I was glad that my voice was there. Secondly, I was glad that I was consistent. Thirdly, I messed up on a blogger's name and I asked I asked my teenage daughter, because you know these teenagers keep it real. So I asked my teenage daughter, and she said, "Mom," she said, "that's so funny. Who messes up on someone's name? Like you're podcasting." I said, "Girl, I was not recording that whole podcast again." And she was like, she said, "But I think it's cute. I love it because it's you." And so Andrea, we love you for you. Like I said all of this to talk about my experience, and I'm still learning. Dr. Nicolia has really helped me out with this and just being herself as well. But you have so much to give from your experiences, from what you've learned, from your vulnerability. All you have to do is just write it down and
Yeah.
record 5 or 10 minutes of it, and
Mhm.
you're good. You're good. So
And you
yeah,
said
my
it right,
podcast will be
Aisha.
bi-weekly.
The
Mhm.
messing up part is actually what people want. If you guys have seen like the trend with ads where people are like holding their cell phone and recording an ad, people like that raw and real. If you notice that like a lot of companies stopped editing out stretch marks and weight and things like that, people want to see what's real. So when you mess up, people are like, "Oh, that's exactly who she is," or "That's exactly how she talks." And those are the parts that
Yes.
like unique. So there's not anything like wrong with it. And you can even acknowledge it. Like sometimes I get really excited and I start stuttering or talking too fast. I'm like, I'm just excited. Let me take a break. All right. And then I'll start again, like, but it's just that's what makes you you. So it's totally okay.
Yeah, I agree with that. And to piggyback on that, it's so funny. Like what comes to me is like at the end of movies when they have the behind the scenes, we're cracking up. Like, you know what I mean? There's
Yes.
always, even at church, like I'm on the media team. So like we have the camera crew and whatever. So sometimes we just have like a little, like Bishop would just do a little video with all the bloopers behind the scene, looking at the girls singing. I'm like, oh my, I'm cracking up, but it's funny, So that was what I registered when you were talking. So now it makes me see it from a different perspective. Like, okay, it's whatever mistake I make, or you can laugh about it later on. You know what I mean? So, and sometimes it's good to laugh at yourself. It's good to laugh at yourself sometimes. You know what I mean? It's just it's you and it makes you real. So
Yes, it makes
that's
you human. There's a thing that I want to bring up too, Taisha, that you brought up. There's a book called The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks. It's a powerful book, but in the book, it talks about stepping out of your comfort zone, essentially. But in the book, he references, or he or she, I don't know if it's a woman or man, they reference something called an upper limit problem. And essentially, an upper limit problem says, basically, when you're stepping out of your comfort zone, you'll notice that your body will tend to exhibit resistant behavior to try to knock you back down a notch or two. And so you getting sick after your podcast is not a coincidence. That actually, and I actually meant to tell you that when we were talking, but like that actually is very, very, very common, but it's a sign that you're moving out of your comfort zone, because your body, your subconscious mind seeks to keep you safe. And so it wants to keep you in this box. But we all know there's no growth inside of your comfort zone. So when you move outside your comfort zone, your body's like, alert, alert, wrong direction. No, no, no. Come back. Like it's doing all these crazy things to get you to come back in. And that's how you end up manifesting like sicknesses. Or you notice like you'll manifest things. I promise you, I always get sick before like a master class or something like that. And then I always know like, okay, it just means that I'm doing something right. So you getting sick right around that time is just confirmation that that's where you're supposed to be moving toward, where you're supposed to be moving.
I like
Thank
that you mentioned.
you.
I don't know what shadow work is, but I have an episode about shadow work, and I mentioned that in my episode. Like our body is meant, like we don't like change, and we don't like to do, your body keeps you away from danger, and so it keeps you in that spot, and anything you try to do that feels like, oh, this is not in my comfort zone, it tends to pull you away from that. So I like that you mentioned that.
Shadow work is so powerful because we have those shadows that show themselves when we don't, that rear their ugly heads. So that's a perfect example. Look into that book, Shamika. You'll like it because they really, and I just kind of summed it up, but I feel like Gay Hendricks goes really in depth with the upper limit and normalizes it, because I remember thinking like, man, this must be that I'm doing something wrong. This must be like that U-turn sign to tell me to turn back around. But it's actually the total opposite. That's actually the telltale sign that you're moving in the right direction. And there's different ways he talks about like, moving through your upper limit, recognizing your comfort zone, notice when you're feeling that upper limit, sit with it. There's all these steps that he gives you, but it's really, really powerful. And I think with you guys all doing this work, because inside the Elevate method, it's not just me teaching you how to coach. You literally are transforming yourself from the inside out. Like Shamika, when you join these modality calls, you're going to see you're getting coaching done on you. I think about like, I think it was like 2 weeks ago, Andrea did one, and I had to write her because I'm like, man, I saw the transformation happen on the call. Like I saw her physiology change from the start of the call where you got on and you were really nervous. And then at the end, you were like really confident. You're practicing the skills. So like you guys are literally living these things and experiencing them and changing yourself so that in turn, you change the lives of the people who you work with. It creates this ripple effect. And so I feel like understanding that upper limit is going to be really powerful because you guys will run into that. There is nothing in this program that's going to make you feel comfortable. And it wasn't designed to make you comfortable because I know that there's no growth there. I want you uncomfortable, but uncomfortable in the direction of your success.
That was so good. Thank you for that. Oh my God. I was just gonna say that yes, every time I get on the modality call, I am uncomfortable, but but what I have comfort in is knowing that I'm uncomfortable with everyone else that's on the call. So we're all in the same place and in the same position. And that just really helps. And Dr. Nicolia, like you just putting yourself out there and being consistent, is so good to see it because it makes us want to put ourselves out there like right where we are because people can see that growth. And that's why I said, okay, well, let me just do it now. Like there's no better time than now. Like if we sit on it too long, then we'll miss our time for certain things. And it'll be like, man, yeah. So I'll let you speak on that, like how we can miss our time, when we sit on it too long.
There's so many people that do it. There's a study. Oh man, I can't remember the lady who did it, but it's called 7 Regrets of the Dying. And it's a lady who essentially interviewed people that were on their deathbed. And she just interviewed them and talked about their regrets. And that was like one of the top regrets was just living a life not aligned with what they wanted, like living a life for everyone else, but not themselves. And there's a lot of, research. There's a quote that says like the graveyard is the richest place in the planet because so many people die there with unfulfilled dreams. And I remember reading, even right now, as I just said that, I got chills. And I remember reading that and thinking like,
that's what came to me too, Dr. Nicolia. This exact same quote came to me.
See,
I couldn't get the words. I'm telling you, it was crazy. That's exactly what came to me because that's how I understood the concept of like, you miss your time when you wait too long because oh my God, wow, powerful.
Yeah, we sit there and we wait for all the T's to be crossed and all the I's to be dotted, and it just won't happen. It just won't happen. I always say, like, take the leap and build your wings on the way down and trust that when you have the right people in your corner, and you guys know you have support inside this program, start taking these leaps. Because even Taisha, let's say when you wrote me and you really thought you messed up, but let's say you really did mess up. Okay, we would have adjusted it and fixed it and moved forward. There wouldn't have really been a mess up, right? There's no mess up.
Yes.
Alexis did a video. She posted a video the other day, and it was like the intro to her business. And she's like, I'm sorry, coach, I feel like this is so ugly, but I just wanted people to see what I did. It was amazing. The video was amazing. And so people, they need to see you being vulnerable. They need to see you being real. Like my coach that I worked with when I got certified, she used to get on and she wouldn't have a bra on, but I didn't care about her not having a bra and everything bouncing around. I cared about what was the content of what she was saying, because everything she said was always so engaging. And I'm like, man, oh my God, that blew me away. Wow, that was so powerful. People care about what it is that you have to offer, and they care about the story behind that too. And that's where the power comes in with it. Even Shamika, when you're talking about shadow work, you could talk about how shadow work has been powerful for you, or how people can leverage it, or why they even need to know about it. That's what they want to know. Like shadow work is great, but like what else? Why does this matter for me? How does this speak to me? And when you're speaking to that and you're sharing about that, it's powerful because most people don't know about it. So yeah, don't wait for the T's to be crossed. Don't wait for the I's to be dotted. You'll wait for the rest of your life doing that, and you'll end up being resentful. So you guys know my motto: I say this all the time. It's probably way played out, but I always say, what is the decision you can make today that your future self will thank you for? And that's a question I ask every single morning. What is something I can do that my future self will thank me for? And I just build on that every single day. Just like Andrea's building on her power hour. She did a power hour today, and that hour probably didn't seem like a lot of progress, but an hour times 7 days, that's 7 hours. An hour times the end of the month, that's 30 hours. An hour at the end of the year, that's 365 hours that you're closer to your goal than you were when you began. So what is that one thing that you can commit to today that your future self will be like, man, thank you so much for doing that yesterday?
Wow, that made me think of the repetitions. So I actually said this last night in Bible study because we was talking about meditation, the whole biblical Joshua, meditate on your word day and night and you'll create your own success. So that scripture stuck out to me because it didn't say that God will create success for you. You create success through your consistency and your repetitions. So your power hour, Andrea, coach just broke it down for you. Like she said, that's 365 hours that you didn't put in. That's
Yep.
close to you creating a new neural pathway in your mind that you've created because of your repetition in 1 year, almost in 1 year or a year and a half. So me and coach talked about this in my clubhouse room. I survived, and we was talking about how powerful repetitions are. So never think that that's small. Like, that's amazing to me. That just really spoke. I got excited, y'all.
And me too. I'm super excited. And if you will, can I have the floor to say something?
Of course.
So yeah, okay. So like this power hour, I'm telling you, okay, let me go back. So going back to the community, like I appreciate the community, like what you were saying to Shamika, like, once you're here, we're supportive, and really, like, I can attest to that. This community is totally supportive, because I want to go back to a call that I had with Alexis a few weeks ago, probably last week or so. And I reached out to her, just telling her, my struggles in certain areas. And it's like God led me to speak to her. I could have spoke to anybody else, but I guess God knew that we had some similarities, and she, we had we have similarities. So she can speak to me where I could understand, okay, yeah, I'm going through the same thing. And if Alexis could say something, the whole call, I'm like, oh my God, that's me. Oh my God, that's me.
That's awesome.
I was like, yeah, that's me. That's my problem. So I'm like, wow. So the Holy Spirit is on point, So we went to her, and she were talking. She was just sharing. I just kind of wanted to know, like, how she's functioning, like, like with their studies, because I get on path, and then something comes and distracts me, and then I can, or something, all my circumstances around me causes me to probably just slack off, you know what I mean? And I learned in the process, as I'm studying and just listening to the word, I'm like, I don't have to wear my circumstances. And that was powerful to me when I heard that. I'm like, even if I'm like stressed, even if there's so much things going on, I don't have to wear that. I don't have to embody that, right? So I kind of took that and shift my mindset to be like, you know what? Yes, I'm tired. Yes, I'm stressed. Yes, there's a lot of things going on in my house, in my family, but that's not going to stop me from moving forward. So because of that setback, I wanted to talk to somebody about it, and I chose Alexis. And she shared some nuggets, girl. Let me tell you, shared some nuggets, and those nuggets that she shared made me realize that I was not alone. I made me realize that, okay, it's all in the joy of studying. It's all in the joy of improving yourself. Like, these things happen, right? So it's just a matter of finding like a pathway, and just like, a stable like flow, a balance to do what I need to do, So that was actually what really pushed me to do my power hour. So thanks to Alexis and the time that she invested into me, and her resources and her experiences allowed me to look at things differently. So, you know what? Let me commit myself to this and just do the power hour, because I wasn't sure how to start. It's like, I wanted to start, but I don't want to start knowing I'm going to stop halfway through. So I'm like, how are you doing it? So she explained it. And I'm like, okay, I'm going through the same thing too. And I feel like I was doing so many things at the same time, you know what I mean? And I'm like, wow, like I am. And then the more you're doing, it's like you feel like you're not getting much done. So when she broke it down like that, I'm like, it's true. I'm doing a lot. So let me focus on certain things and really use that power hour to get all that out. that's how I look at it. So that power hour is getting everything that I want out of my head. So I'm focused on my podcast or doing like a module in NLP, or because all these things I want to do, but it's so much, I don't know how to get it out. So the power hours are helping me to get it out. You know what I mean? So that was just powerful for me. So that's how I perceive it. And that's why I have the commitment and the motivation to really do it. You know what I mean? So it's really powerful. So back to the community, like if I didn't have access to speak to anyone, I probably wouldn't have moved forward, you know? So we're all here to help each other. And definitely I'm happy that, you know, we can support each other like that. It's priceless. It's priceless to have a group like this, you know? So yeah, just wanted
When
to
you
share that.
said, you know what else you did that was really powerful? So reaching out to Alexis was freaking amazing. But something you said, I feel like created a mindset shift. So you said, I don't have to embody that I can't complete something. I don't have to embody that I'm a procrastinator. And I had a coworker from years ago, and he was diagnosed with ADHD. And he would always say, my name is blank and I experience ADHD. He did not say I have, or I am a person. He said, I experience it. So it didn't become a part of his identity. It was something that came from time to time, but not something that that was his whole identity wrapped into it. So when you said that, I was like, oh my gosh, like that's powerful. You didn't embody it. Like, you're like, okay, I can learn from somebody else who's making progress in this. I can reach out because I know the community is here. I know that they care. Because I remember that was a fear of yours in the beginning. Like, you know, will I post? Am I allowed to post? Will people respond? Like, but people here care. They want to be able to support you. And I'm so glad that Alexis was able to hold that space. She's amazing. She's amazing. I'm not surprised at all that she did that. And I didn't even know. Look at that.
Yeah, exactly. You know, so it was really, really, really powerful. And I said, you know, and like I said, I also mentioned to her too that, you know, like a lot of people, it's a gift. She was talking about like, you know, it's a gift that we have that we can do so many things. You know, sometimes you just like, I wonder, how do I really do all these things? And I know it's a grace of God, and just obviously it's a gift. So when she put it that way, I'm like, okay, it's a gift that I can do millions of things at the same time, because a lot of people are attracted to me because of that. How do you do that? You have 5 kids, you work full time, you have 3 businesses. How do you do it? And I'm like, I do it. But then when she put it out there, like it's a gift that we have to be able to do all these things and not be you know what I mean? Like not overwhelmed. Like I do them with ease, and it makes it look easy to other people. So
Yeah.
that is something that's another, I know that's a gift that I have. So I can kind of like share with others too, you know what I mean? How to embody that way of moving, you know? So it's really powerful. It was nice.
And this part of your journey will be something you share with other people. When you create your program,
Yes.
when you create your offers, you start
Yeah.
to customize. The whole reason I even have a video on power hours is because that's how I structured my growth. As very much as a busy mom, I'm like, oh, a dedicated power hour. So then I'm like, oh, I'm going to make a power hour video that helps people understand this is how you can start to build on what it is you're working on. But I learned that because I struggled in the beginning, right? So your own struggles become something you later leverage and support other people with.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love that.
Nice.
I love that. So what other questions are coming up for you guys? Anything you guys are working on, wanting support with, need eyes looked at, anything?
I have a question, Coach.
Yeah.
So I listened to your last podcast episode where you were talking about coaching, and I caught like I think like the end of it. It was really good. And so my question is, can we tie what we do like as we go through this program into our podcasting?
Yes.
Okay.
You absolutely
Okay.
should, because that would be an opportunity even to like promote things that you're doing. So let's say, for example, you're going through the hypnosis module. Germany is doing this right now as we speak. So she had someone, she's at work, so she wasn't able to make it, but she had someone who reached out to her to do hypnosis. And she's like, I'm not actually certified. So she's like, can I offer it? And I was like, here's the thing. Technically, it's really up to that person if they feel comfortable with it. I said, but you could also say, I am literally under the eye of a coach who's supporting me to be able to support you. And I was like, and this is your opportunity to start putting yourself out there and talk about things. So she talked about human design, like what human design was. And then people started to ask her about it. And she talked about her certification and all of that. So this is a great way for people to like, almost like be on the journey with you. When I actually started this certification, I talked about as me becoming a trainer. And I talked about all the studies I had to do and the research I had to do and the presentation I had to do and all of that. And then people started to inquire, like, well, what is neurolinguistic programming and what does that mean? And then that created an opportunity for me to talk about what it was that I offer. So absolutely talk about those things. Like I would 100% talk about. You see, Taisha, when we did the talk on your Clubhouse, how many people were asking you like, oh my gosh, when are you going to be certified? I'm ready. Okay, Alexis, we'll see you later. Love you too.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Bye,
And yes,
Alexis.
elevate. When you did the when we did the Clubhouse and we were talking about hypnosis, how many people reached out to you after that Clubhouse asking to when are you going to be certified? When can we work together? When can I get a session? Like, because you were already talking about what was coming.
Wow, yes, it was so many people, and they were just like, how long is it going to take you to be certified? And so I was just like, and I remember that you said as we go through this program, what's great about it, we can already start to walk in it. Like we can already start to use the information as we are getting certified. And then we can make it official, once we get certified. So you was like, if someone feel comfortable with me doing hypnosis on them, go ahead and let them know you're being certified. But this program, this is a part of the program that you would like to offer at this time. So I would definitely be talking to you, like back channeling you about, incorporating this into my podcast, because I think it's going to really help others.
You inside the group portal, inside the portal, there's a thing that says single sessions you can sell before certified and single sessions you can sell after certified. So it actually shows you how to even craft a session. So I can look for it and put it in the chat really quick too.
Oh, wow.
But it shows you. So like one of the things that Germany did that I think was so dope, she posted the other day, or I'm sorry, she didn't post yet. She shared it and she's getting ready to post it. But what she did is she told people like, hey, these are sessions that I'm selling right now while I'm working on my certification. These sessions will go up in price. So you can lock in your offer right now while it's, I think she's charging like 111 or something like that. And then after she's going to change the price. And that also gives you practice to like build up to feel wrapped into your price. So like when I did a hypnosis session prior to being certified, and it was on a high school classmate of mine, a good guy friend of mine. And he has a podcast and he wanted to feature me on his podcast to share his experience about hypnosis. So obviously I had him sign a contract, letting him know, like, I'm not fully certified, but I am, becoming certified. And I gave him like a no-brainer deal. I want to say it was like $90 for hypnosis, which I charge over $400 for now. So I charged like $90 and he loved it so much, but he always raves about the fact that he locked it in before I grew to that point. And here's the thing that I learned about it. I learned what all is involved in a hypnosis session, because when I charged $90, I was like, dang, I did a lot for $90. I wrote a script. I checked in with him after. I did an hour-and-a-half long call. Like I did all these things. And I was like, there's no way I could sell this sustainably for $90. Had I not practiced that, I never would have even known to feel comfortable at where to like place my price accordingly. So that's kind of what I told Germany, like, offer this now, feel into what feels good for you, see if this is something that feels sustainable for your business model, and then craft and structure it accordingly. And so that's how you guys will see her post here in a little bit, but she's been working on that as well. So definitely talk about it. And I'm going to put this in here. But if you check it out, there's a bunch, I lay out like examples. So like, even let's say, for example, you wanted to do a niche strategy, help somebody find their niche, or creating a routine or a goal setting strategy. There's all these like different techniques that you guys can use and build into one session. You can do a clarity session or a goal setting session or something like that, because my goal is for you guys to already start, one, making money back as you're in this program and learning, but two, do it while you're still here. Because let's say Germany did, what did she do? I think Mapping Across. And then she jumped on, was it Mapping Across? It was another one, but she jumped on a modality call and asked for feedback and was like, did I do this right? Let me ask this question. Because when you go in, the whole reason that I even have the modality calls offered is because I want you guys to feel nervous when you get on them, get all your nerves out, get all of that out. And then when you jump on a call with a client, you feel confident. You're like, I already know that I can create this shift. I already know that I can support them with this. I already know how to do this because I've done it. I've already walked through it. So that's the whole purpose of those modality calls, to feel more confident when you're jumping into those sessions.
Thank you. Thank you for that information.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And definitely bookmark that tab, because those are things that you guys can start like putting yourself out there and offering now, just going through the program. And then there's so many other, like once you get through it, oh my gosh, there's so many ways that you can craft and structure and use and leverage these things accordingly. It's a good question. Is there anything else coming up? We still got about 10 minutes. So if there's something else coming up, maybe something you're working on or a question you have. Andrea, I was thinking about you with your podcast when you were mentioning working on some of your content. One of the things that I think would be really good for you, since you're leveraging power hours, and this would work, Shamika, for you too, if you haven't already done this, but and Taisha, actually, since you're starting yours, is batch recording. So one of the things that I like to do is I like to do all my YouTube kind of videos at one time and all my podcasts at one time, because you're already in podcast mode. So it's like if you create content for 2 or 3 podcasts, why not sit there and just batch them all out? You already got your microphone out. You already maybe got your kids quiet. You're already sitting in a quiet space. Go ahead and just batch it all out at once. Same thing with me. When I do a YouTube video, I repurpose now very differently. So I actually record a YouTube video, strip my YouTube video and turn that into a podcast. And that's just helped me to kind of like repurpose. But when I used to just kind of do YouTube videos, I always would do them together, because I'm like, I've already done my hair, I already got earrings on, I already got a nice shirt, I've already told my kids to be quiet. So I'm gonna knock out 3 videos in one sitting. And then that also helped me to not feel overwhelmed. So like, as you guys know, I just had surgery. But if you look, I have my YouTube this whole week, I have 7 videos going out every day this week as a marathon. So I'm promoting that on the back end, running people to my YouTube channel, because I'm wanting to get the followers up on there. But I haven't recorded, those things were recorded a month ago. Like that's not anything that's recorded now. That was something that was pre-scheduled and ready to go then. My podcast episodes are still coming out. And I haven't done anything since I've been on, I had surgery exactly 2 weeks ago today. And I've been up and down with my temperature, my emotions, everything. Like, you know how it is when you're recovering. So I've been giving myself grace to rest. But with that, I know that everything's already taken care of, because I pre-recorded and pre-batched all my blogs, my podcasts, my YouTube, all of that stuff is pre-batched all the way until the end of May. So even if I want to, and I'm good to start recording again, probably beginning of May, but that still gives me a little bit of wiggle room to jump in and say, okay, now I want to record, or now I still want to give myself some break, or I want to give myself some grace or whatever. So considering that can be really helpful if you batch record, because it takes the pressure off of you when you also maybe things come up. Because the biggest thing, the biggest piece of advice I can give you with a podcast is it's better to be consistent and do it less frequently than it is to just do it like randomly. So if you know, like, okay, I don't see myself recording every week, but I see myself doing it bi-weekly or even monthly, let people know I have a podcast coming out the first Monday of the month. That consistency is going to be far more important than you just like not doing it, you know? So when you have,
I like that.
Oh, go ahead.
Because like I was doing someone's hair actually, and she listened to my podcast, and we were just talking about random stuff. And I actually, somehow it came up that I was doing the classes for life coaching, and she was like, "Oh my gosh, you would be really good at that." Like, and so she was like, "What's up with your podcast?" Like, and like I said, fair. I'm thinking like people aren't listening, and she was like, "I was actually listening. I liked it," and she gave me feedback and stuff from my podcast, and I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you was listening," you know? So yeah, I like that.
That's exactly it. People pay attention when you don't know that they're paying attention. And then also they want more. So when you kind of just like fall off, it's like then they look for another podcast, but versus then they know you're going to get your listener view up when people know. Because mine, for example, is every Tuesday. I release mine, I'm sorry, every other Tuesday. And I started off with every Tuesday, and then I realized that felt like a lot to kind of keep up with. And so I moved to every other Tuesday. But when I did that, I even announced it like, hey, the podcast is moving to every other Tuesday. There's still lots of things for you to binge on in between time. But the next episode will be released then. But I still try to keep that very, very consistent. And that's helped a lot with my listeners.
Okay.
I like that too, Coach, because when you mentioned like, you know, like you said, you can do it like, okay, once a month. And for me, that resonated with me because I think that's going to work for me with everything that I'm doing. I'm still doing the classes. So I think just to not overwhelm myself, I think once a month will be good. I mean, but it's okay to change it after if I want to
Oh, yeah.
give out more. Okay. Exactly.
Yeah. So let's say you
I can
start once
with
a month. If you start once a month and then you're like, oh, I could definitely do more. Yeah, that's actually better to start that
Yes,
way,
exactly.
not overwhelm
Yeah.
yourself, then be like, hey, I have even more to offer you guys.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, perfect. So I think I'll do like once a month. That'd be
Might
nice.
be good for you too, when you start to take away the overwhelm, if you record 3 episodes before you even release it, just so that you know, like, oh, because what I find too, a lot of people come, they release it and then they start having fear, and then all of a sudden they slowly but surely pull away, and then nothing's released. Exactly, I see it happen all the time. So if you have, what I actually did is I batch recorded 5 episodes over 2 days. And then I released 3 as like a fast action, like, you got to join my podcast. I have 3 episodes waiting for you. And then I had 2 kind of waiting for me. And that helped me to kind of get over myself. It's okay. That helped me to get over myself for those next episodes because they were already scheduled to go. So I didn't have enough time to tell myself, no, don't do it. Don't, like, it was already ready.
Okay.
Yeah, I like that idea. I like that idea. So I can use my power hours for that,
Oh,
to kind of like, yeah, exactly.
100%. And you know what? I know you listen to a lot of podcasts. You always have, and you always like recommend
Yeah.
podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
Start paying attention to the ones that you like the flow of, and start to like think about, like, what do I like about this podcast? What do I like about this flow? And how can you structure yours according to that? Because each podcast is a little different. And so start to pay attention to the ones that really intrigue you and interest you.
Yeah, yeah. And since we're on the topic of power hour, can we use, like, I mean, I'm sure we can, just like want to know, like let's say I have my personal stuff to do. I can use a power hour to do that. Like if I have some papers to fill out for the kids, or even check my emails, I can say, okay, I'm using this hour to check my emails. Like it's kind of like just, and I know another thing too, Alexa had recommended your book, Conquer Your Chaos. Is that a book that
It's a planner.
A planner, exactly. So I'm actually gonna get that. It's on Amazon, right?
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna get that. But yeah, so that too. So she's like, she uses that also to plan out her power hours and stuff like that too. So yeah, so I guess that's why I said in the group I said I want to kind of increase eventually to 2 power hours a day, because I can use one for my personal goals and one for like my family goals. You know what I mean? So yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. That's kind of how I do it. I have a family power hour, like a personal family power hour, and then I have a goal power hour. And that power hour may look different. So let's say, for example, you're writing a book. That power hour may look like you reaching out and interviewing editors for an hour, right? Or that power hour may look like you actually doing the writing. That power hour may look like you reading, which is informing your writing, right? The power hours can look really different, but the goal is that it's focused on the big picture goal of it all. So your power hour one day may be your podcast, your power hour the next day may be diving into an NLP module, so it's really, the power hours are going to look different, but it's with the ultimate goal and focus. And the best thing you can do is to plan your power hour. I would even say like the night ahead of time, because if it doesn't fit in paper, if it doesn't fit on your paper or in your digital calendar, it's not going to fit in your real life. So make it fit into your digital calendar or your physical or your print calendar. Make it fit that way so that you're accountable to it in reality.
I like that. I'm gonna write that down. Yeah, that's powerful. Thank you for that.
Taisha, you put your hand up. What's up, girl? Did something come up with
Oh, something did come up, but I can't remember what it was. I think you may have answered it.
Okay. Cool beans. Shamika, do you have any questions before we wrap up?
I do not.
Okay. All right. If you think of anything, you're welcome to post it in a group. I always say, when we post in the group, 9 times out of 10, your question is a question somebody else has. So it's helpful when you post in the group, because then other people are like, oh yeah, I could see this, or oh, I can help answer it, or oh, I have a good idea about this. So that's helpful. So if anything comes up, even as you think, as you leave the call and something comes up and you're like, oh, I should ask that, feel free to definitely post it, because I want to definitely be able to support you as things come up. And share your podcast, please. I will share it.
For sure. I already wrote it down. So I have Taisha's own and I have Shamika. So definitely gonna listen to that. I do have a question for Taisha though, because it was our last Q&A. She had mentioned something and I wrote it down. I was like, what? How do you remember you had mentioned about the Seven Mountains of Influence. So I went to go look at, I think, was it Taisha that mentioned that, or was
Yes,
it
I think it
Germany?
was Taisha.
It was Taisha, yeah, exactly. The Seven Mountains of Influence. So I went to go look it up. So it was really intriguing. But then something that said about, I think you mentioned it, probably your experience. I think it was a ministry certification. Is that what I think that's what you were doing or you did?
I'm sorry. I had got a call.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
I only caught the end of it. Did you say a ministry certification?
Yes, I think you had mentioned that like right after you mentioned the Seven Mountains of Influence, because I think you were doing a ministry certification. Is that what you had said in the last Q&A?
Oh, yeah. So I do have a lot going on.
Yeah.
So right now I'm being trained to be an ordained minister in the next year. My
Okay.
pastor brought that to me. Right now, like, so yeah, I'll be certified as a minister next year. And then which will give me more leverage with my followers. I'll be certified to do certain things as a
Mhm.
minister.
Okay.
And you actually brought up my other question for Dr. Nicolia. Thank you for
Oh,
mentioning that.
okay.
So, Dr. Nicolia, I have my ministry where, like my LLC, She's Sacred Ministries. And so I'm really trying to do everything from that ministry base. Um, I see that there's like other people are starting their own coaching businesses, and I just wanted to get advice, like, do I do it under ministry, or do I start my own coaching business? Because I wasn't really led to just come up with a name for my coaching. I just wanted to put out my offers.
Do you feel like it would overlap? Like, do you feel like what you're doing ministry wise would also be similar to what, like, so like ministry, I think I remember you saying like you and your husband were going to be doing some kind of counseling. Do you feel like that kind of overlap with you doing like individual coaching? If you feel like the two tie together, then yes. If you don't feel like they tie together, then it doesn't hurt to have two different LLCs. There's a lot of people that have different businesses.
Okay. Okay, yeah. So I feel like it ties together, but I don't want it to box me in.
Then I would
I
do two
want it to
different
be
LLCs because that's what I
two
was.
different ones.
Yeah, I was worried about
Okay.
because even if you think about it, like when we did the Clubhouse talk, there was a lot of stigma around spirituality and hypnosis. And then what I'm worried about is if you really want to leverage the hypnosis piece, what the stigma may be like. And I think if you had kind of two different angles, it could support you at
Mhm.
showing up in both the way that you want to show up. Not to say you still can't weave your spirituality in clearly into your business. I just think that I see what you mean by like the boxing.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. And I'm sorry, Andrea, because I know I didn't catch everything that you said.
Mhm. It was more for the minute I want to know like what did it entail, because I'm in ministry at church, so I wanted to know like if what kind it was ministry like, might like to teach people. Like I wasn't sure what type of ministry you're in, so it was intriguing to me because I'm actually in ministry. So I mean, I don't have a ministry business, but I mean I'm in ministry, but I love ministry, so that's what caught my attention. But it doesn't have to be on this platform. I can talk to you offline. But because you had mentioned it on the call, I was just curious to know what kind of certification it was. So that was it.
Yeah, we could definitely back
Yeah,
channel each other. Yes,
yeah.
thank
Okay,
you.
perfect. No problem.
All right, ladies,
Wow.
is there anything else coming up for the good of the order?
I don't think
No,
so.
I don't think so. I think everything was very powerful. Power. I call it a power hour too.
Yeah, this definitely
Power
could
hour.
count as your power hour because I saw you and Shamika both taking notes. So this could hold, yes, count as you start letting those wheels spin. And yeah, this could totally count as your power hour.
Yeah. So I had two today then. I had two power hours today.
Yes. Want to let you guys know, I talked to an amazing lady. Her name's Angelique, and she is going to come in and talk all about leveraging your gifts to turn it into a course. And she's going to dive in deep. Like that is her whole business model. Like that is like she teaches people to create amazing courses. So she'll be coming in May. I just put that in the events tab. So definitely check that out so you can lock that in on your calendar if you can, but she will be coming in. So if you can be there, that would be great. But other than that, I hope you guys have a phenomenal remainder of your week. Anything comes up, you guys know where to find me. And yeah, keep your eye on the events tab too. I think Siobhan has another modality call coming up as well. I just can't remember the day off the top of my head. So other than that, yeah, I hope you guys have a good week.
Yes, you too. Thank you,
Thank
Dr.
you.
Latoya.
You too.
Okay,
All right. Bye, everyone.
bye.